friends. Let me make sure my audio is working. My audio is working. I'm about to head to the gym. I'm here at Corbin in the best gym in Watkinsville. Corey, I see you. But with that being said, I am in a brand new block. We just started a whole new block of training this week, and I wanted to take you all through a endurance interval day with me. So I have running intervals at the end of my lift. So I'm back to lifting 4 days a week instead of 3. I'm doing 2 upper body days and then 2, I guess you could call it full body training days. Most of my upper body accessory volume is on Monday and Thursday or Wednesday now, whatever day I decide to do it. So days 1 and 3. But then my days 2 and 4 are my more full body. And by that, I mean, I do my Olympic weightlifting, my squats, my deadlifts, and that kind of stuff. So really you could think of it as upper, lower if you really wanted to, even though Olympic weightlifting technically it has upper body involved in it. But with that being said, one of the goals I had at this block is to increase my conditioning. So on Monday I did row intervals, and then today is my running speed work day. I wanted to specifically add in running specific speed work to work on speed. I'm in a non-race season right now, but I do still want to sprinkle in some endurance and running back in. I did a lot of running intervals last spring, and I feel like that helped me tremendously later in the year with some of my running goals. And so I have another cardio day on the weekend, and if I have some time, I'm going to try to sneak in a run there midweek, but we're going to stick to the 3 days right now because that's realistic for my goals. Key tip there. But so many people get really confused and overthink combining resistance training and cardio. And for the most part, for most of you, I say this in my ebook hybrid, you're not fit enough to worry about what you're worried about. So really it's just about getting it in. And so I am doing my conditioning during the week right now on the days of my upper body. So then I'm doing other conditioning on top of it. So my lower body days are kind of isolated to just what they are. But that isn't to say that I couldn't do conditioning on lower body days. I do that all the time. I used to do my Tuesday lift that I've been doing for over a year and a half now, and then run in the afternoons when training for my ultras. So it's really just about structuring it in a way that meets your needs. And so I'm going to lift first, and then I'm going to do my endurance after. I generally encourage people who are trying to have strength specific goals or hypertrophy specific goals to do that first. There was a meta-analysis that came out this past year that showed for beginner or intermediate trainees, you can pretty much go straight from lifting into cardio or running or endurance or whatever it is, and it really doesn't show any detriments to those gains. And then they found it more intermediate plus more advanced trainees, you need a little bit of a gap. Really 20 minutes is what you needed. I'm not too worried about it, especially because running intervals is more explosive, power oriented in nature and not necessarily a steady state long run. That's going to put me in a very catabolic state is what we would call it, where there's muscle breakdown. That's what a lot of people worry about when mixing endurance and lifting, but the amount that you're doing really matters there. We're talking miles and miles of weekly volume. So I think a lot of people tend to think their little conditioning session is going to be detrimental, where it probably has more positive effects to their overall health and isn't pulling away from their fatigue or recovery for their lifting sessions. And it's actually probably maybe even beneficial for energy system development when it comes to carrying over into our lifts, especially if you're a new trainee. So strength isn't a weakness, but neither is being aerobically conditioned. So I'm here to help reduce that demonization, but also show you that you can do cardio while you lift. So with that being said, I'm going to go in the gym. I'm going to do my upper body lifting day, and then I'm going to do run intervals, and I'm going to bring you along for those running intervals to show you what we're doing. I believe it is, I want to say somewhere between 4 and 8 rounds. I can't remember, maybe not 8. It's 400 meter intervals with 2 minutes of rest in between. So there should be all out. It is a very traditional HIIT interval protocol. You can kind of think of it really high intense, short intensity cardio, but we are going to try to hit those 400 meter paces at essentially my estimated best mile pace. And that is my goal for my training session. I don't really have a mile timed for a long time, but I have an idea of what that would roughly be like. So we're going to try to hang around there for those intervals. And so let's go train. So I did a few minutes of running to warm up. I just did my gymnastic stuff first, so I already was kind of moving and grooving. But I just wanted to warm up my legs a little bit more. Did some just skipping and general stuff just to kind of get my body ready to do higher intensity running. I didn't really do any formal structure there, just some skipping and hopping just to kind of get that bouncing effect and neuromuscular grooming of my muscles and stuff like that. Get my body, my legs ready for that. But I feel pretty good now. So my run today, I moved it to be after my gymnastics, but I did not do it yesterday when I was normally supposed to do it, but that's all right, I can move this around. So it's 5 rounds of 400-meter runs at my estimated PR mile pace with 2 minutes of rest between rounds. So I will have a video talking about how and why the air runner is technically harder than on the ground running or strict treadmill running, or also just like in general. For another day, I actually have a video already made on that, so look out for that, or watch that if it's posted before or after this. With that being said, so I kind of have an idea of roughly where my target should be from last week, but knowing that they were a little bit slower, simply probably due to the air runner being a little bit harder. I haven't truly tested what that PR mile pace is quite yet. We have an estimate of what it would be, but I understand they'll be a little bit harder. So this is my second week of these intervals. Last week I probably went out too hot in the beginning and then died too much towards the end. So my goal this week is to maybe more evenly pace a higher maintenance intensity rather than like fast and then tinking out. So even if I get the same pace, distance, intensity, whatever, during the time to get to my 400 meters, the goal is this week to have it be a more even effort across sessions. You're always going to be a little bit faster in the beginning just because that's natural. Your phosphocreatine system contributes to that, but it does taper out. And so since a 400-meter run is going to take me around a minute and I think a half-ish, it's a little bit past that, moving into a little bit more glycolytic energy systems. So I know that I can't just rely on pure power output the entire time, and so it does get a little bit anaerobic there at the end. So trying to make that more even if possible. So let's go. Like that after doing anything high intensity interval training, you're doing it wrong or it's not hit. Okay, last one. All right, and that is it for my running intervals today. The first one I had some issues with the treadmill, so I have literally no idea how I did, but I believe we did better than last week. Got my data here on my phone. I use TrueCoach because that's what my coach uses. Everyone always asks me about my app, but I use Trainerize with my clients. That's how you track it. I don't know why it didn't show from last week, but I think this is probably about 1 to 3 seconds faster per round than I did last week. Good. So my second week in, so you kind of sometimes make pretty fast adaptations week 1 to week 2. Just getting used to doing something. Repeated bout effect, or that's with muscle soreness, but repeated exposure will make things easier. So if you do something the first time, you probably will do worse than you do the second time, not even from training adaptations, just like getting used to it, being familiar with it, and just like kind of knowing what you're doing. Familiarization is what we call this in science. So that was probably my familiarization last week, but this week, week 2, so hoping to improve those numbers by the end of this block. I think getting into the low 130s, upper 120s is realistic for me across those intervals, especially considering that the air runner is like 20 to 30% harder. You're slower when you're doing it. So I might try to get out on track or road to do those one of these days just to kind of see what that's looking at out there. But all things considered, I feel good about it. So that is that. So if you found this insightful, helpful, the Lyss Method running programs program and running specifically for you like this within my program. So all my intermediate running programs have something like this program in them based off the goal, the distance, like where you're at in the program. So just replicating what I do is maybe not the best thing to do, but if you want to join the Lyss Method, I will program things like this for you specific to your running goals so that you can have the speed work that aligns with the distance that you're doing and working on the development you need to get faster with explanations on your zones, paces, intensities, relative and unique to you. So if you found this helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, let me know if you learned anything, and I will link below my programs if you're interested in signing up for those. We'd love to see you in the app. I'll catch you next time.